today I'm really looking forward to this one because I love WordPress. This is about how to build a WordPress website. So take it away, Beth.
Okay. So I got to thinking about this, like what you have to do. So full disclosure, we run a full hosting company in addition to the marketing agency, and I have a pre-packaged version of WordPress, and I'm using that because to start this from the ground up would take way too much time. So I want to tell you where I'm starting from. The first thing that you would need to do if you decided to use WordPress is you would need to pick out a theme. The theme is the apparatus of what the website looks like and what the constructs is. We have a default theme that we use for everybody, and I'll get to that in a minute. But for you guys that don't have a theme, don't know a theme, your hosting company doesn't give a theme, whatever, however that looks like, you need to go to a place called Theme Forest. And I'm going to put that over here. Sandra, if you want to put that in the window.
Okay, and it's called Theme Forest.
Theme Forest. Now, listen, there's a bunch of places out in the world that sell WordPress themes. They are unvetted most times. And the thing is that there's not only code, but there's also images. And we have had incidences where themes purchased from other websites, they have received cease and desist and fine letters because the images were not properly licensed. That's really important. So usually I've never had a problem with these guys. We've been using them 10 years. I've also never had a problem with the theme having hack material in it, or any bad metadata that may harm your website. So with that said, if you take the training wheels off and take me out of the equation and you did this on your own, this is where you want to start. So when you come to this website and you go to Theme Forest, it says professional website themes, blah, 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 right? So what you need to do then is you need to say, what kind of business are you? And what are you looking for? I'm going to say, let me see if we just have general, if we can put in general. WordPress. And what you're going to do is you're going to see there's a lot of themes here to choose from. And you can go aesthetically with what they look like. You can kind of go through them and see whether you feel like they're going to do what you need to do. You're going to learn, we're going to talk about how to read the fine print on some of this. Okay. But what I'll tell you is for about 49 bucks, you can get a website that looks good. It's nice and clean. The thing is that each and every one of these come with demo data. And that's sort of the important thing. So the first thing that catches my eye is this Avant theme. And it catches it because it comes with 9 separate templates that are pre-designed pages. And that's going to be very important for our discussion this evening, because most of you guys say, oh, I put in WordPress and I don't know what to do with it. So we're gonna kind of do this of how you can bring a WordPress site up quick and dirty, using what they give you. So you want to pay close attention to the pre-designed demos that are available, because that's going to be the things that you're going to be able to do. That's going to give you a very quick in to get stuff handled. Okay. So it lessens your learning curve. Now, what I will say on this one is I do not like the fact that it's touting the use of Elementor, because mostly Elementor puts a lot of bad code in a page and it slows the website down. It's easy to use. I do think it has a learning curve. We use WP Bakery, and I'm got to say, on some level, I'm not even happy that we do that, because that also puts a lot of code in. I think it puts a lot less code than Elementor does. So we've gone over to a WP Bakery shop, but you can kind of pick and choose what you want. So that's the fact that they're showing me Elementor for my demos, that immediately for me rules them out. So I go back, and you can spend 6 months looking at demos of these things if you want. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to tell you is don't buy one that doesn't have a lot of reviews on it. Don't buy ones that have not been updated in this century or in this decade. I'm always looking to make sure the last update date is recent. So you see this one says this one was last updated on September 24th of 2016. This one's immediately not included. I want ones that have been updated and that are being maintained. And that's a very important piece because as WordPress changes and is updated, your theme needs to be updated. And I find this mistake quite a bit, that I have these folks that they send me emails, and they're here 5 years later and then they can't make changes to their website. I have one right now that's going to be a real problem to get skinned out and fixed because the original designer is no longer in web design, kind of dumped it on my desk. I'm going to have to fix it, and the theme is not being updated. So be careful and make sure that you have themes that have an update date, that they're being maintained, that they have a lot of sales. Those are some hallmarks of things that we look for. Okay.
I'm gonna put that
So
link, the link to that page right in the chat.
yeah, you did already. It's Theme Forest. You did it.
Okay, so,
It's not just this page. It's you. They need to
all
start a
right,
Theme Forest so they can search wherever they want. So
okay.
like for me, I would say compatible with Bakery Builder because that's what we like to use. So I would kind of go down these. I'd look, I mean, my first pass is how many installs do they have?
Compatible with what?
Bakery Builder, because that's what we use. That's what we're most comfortable with. My office is most comfortable with that. Their online graphics interface builders to do what we need to do. So that's just the way it is. So that's that piece. Okay, so I'm going to come down and I'm going to look down the list, and I'm going to look and see what one has a lot of installs, what ones have
Are
been
they
out
able to
around.
add their trademark symbol when they use this stuff?
Yeah, you buy it, and you can buy it in one of two ways. You can buy it as exclusive use for you, or you can buy it because we're going to gut out what they give you as a demo. Just we'll get there, not there yet. Okay, but
Okay.
you're gonna be okay with that. All right, so I look down these. I kind of look down all of them. I'll go through them. We've had the experience now that I have one that we pretty much do with everyone, but you'll see there's hundreds of them here to pick, all right, to pick from. So this is one that we've used before in the past. There's, these are become your choice what to use. Now, when I have my prepackaged build, it has one that's called UDesign in it, and I'll show you. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, so you see UDesign has had 50,000 sales, and it was last updated on August the 9th. So it's been around for a while. It's a safe bet. I know it's being maintained. I know they're not going anywhere. I've had to ask support on it because things have come up over time. They've been great to work with. So I try to go, when we narrowed this down, we really looked for one that was lightweight, could do what we needed it to do, had the ability to have things plugged into it, was able to be manipulated for different designs and such. So here's what we ended up with. It was $56. You add it to the cart, you buy it. Okay. And it will give you a set of files. The next thing you have to do is have a hosting company and have a version of WordPress installed. Now, I am not going to go through the install process on WordPress because every hosting company can handle it a little differently. We have a one button press install here. No, there's no monthly fee from these providers. You can choose to upgrade your support contract, but this WordPress themes don't have subscriptions. If you go to WordPress.com, however, they can. So this is all about having your own version of WordPress that you're running on your own web hosting company and not beholden to a back end, because that's what keeps coming up repetitively in this clinic as we talk about it is, why can't I use Wix? Why can't I use Weebly? Why can't I use Squarespace? WordPress is too hard. WordPress.com. This is the right way to approach this.
Hey, Beth,
Hopefully, huh?
someone's saying, I'm a senior and unable to see this size font. Are you able to increase it or use a cursor?
I'm not even to where we should be seeing a font yet. So once we do that, we'll make it bigger. This literally is walking in off the street. I didn't even get to where we're adjusting anything. So don't worry. We'll get to a point where you can see everything. And if you can't, when we get to the real stuff, you let me know. What I'm going to say is Google made an update in June to their algorithm, and everybody needs to have bigger fonts for everything. So where standardly the world was running on a 12 point font, 12 pixel font, you need to now be more towards a 16. So by the time we're done tonight, I hope to have everything big and bold that you can see it. Okay, Dale? All right, so back to where I was going here. Forgot, I lost my train of thought, Sandra. Hold on a second.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's all right. Fees. So UDesign has no fees. WordPress.org has no fees. You do have a monthly fee for your web hosting company. You may choose to pay that annual. Many offer a discount if you pay it annual, but the fees themselves are not existent for the most part within WordPress. If you choose, and I'm going to advise you that you may choose to maintain a support contract on your theme, I might suggest doing it, because as WordPress does upgrades, sometimes those themes have problems and they will only support customers that pay them. So once your support contract expires, now you have a different set of problems. So just so you understand that that's the piece of it. So I'm gonna tell you all the next step is to go get a hosting company and get a version of WordPress installed, either through a pre-configured version that has tools in it and packages like we do, a one press button out of a control panel. Some hosting companies do it that way. Everybody, there's like such a wide variety of the way people handle this. I think that it's all how much you want to support it. So when I have ones that we've put together and assembled, I have no problem supporting those installs. Somebody comes and says, hey, UDesign's not working anymore, something breaks, we already usually know the fix to it. They did something a couple weeks ago that broke the footers across all the websites that use any type of classic widget function. So we'll kind of talk about that in a second, but understand that you might need somebody to have some support. So you may need to keep up your support contract with the provider, which is the $56, and you can come and renew it through your Envato account here at Theme Forest. So the first thing you do is you install it. I'm going to assume everybody has installed their version of WordPress at their hosting company. So the next thing that happens is you come here and you go to your WordPress backend, wherever it can be one time. If you don't need support, it's one time. If you want to keep your support contract up, you're going to pay them $56 a year. If you have a host that gives you a theme, they pay the fees on it. You don't have to worry about it. Then you won't have to pay that $56 a year. So it all depends on that circumstance. It's not a yes or no question, because there's a third party possibly involved that may be covering that $56 for you. Okay, so I'm going to come to a back end. Everybody's back end may be different. Most of them are found at WP-admin. Now, let me tell you a small little doomaflaxy on that. We changed that with some software and a plugin that we put so that it's not easy to go find the back end of a website. It's very important that somebody doesn't break into your website. So my advice to you is make sure that you secure it and you actually don't leave it being WP admin, because you're far more likely to have a hack and a brute force hack come on if you did it that way than if you secured it. This one's secured, so you notice I went to one that's called site admin. Okay, so I come in, the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a, hold on, somebody asked a question. What could be the reasons my website is redirecting to a pharmacy website when you click it from Google? Somebody took your domain. Somebody hacked your website. Google is confused at what's your website versus somebody else. My guess is you lost your domain, but and I mean, if it's a legitimate pharmacy website, we're okay. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Why can't they see, Sandra? Why did that go away?
I can see you still. I think when you're reading a question in Q&A right now, so you're not doing anything at the moment, so to speak, you're talking. But can everyone see, I can still see you, what you're doing on the screen. You're moving your cursor. Now you're going to WordPress.
Yeah, so everybody sees the WordPress back end now, right?
Yes.
Yay? Okay.
Okay.
All
We know.
right.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. If that happens, let me know, because sometimes this stops screen sharing, especially if I bring something up like the chat window or the question and answer window. David, your question about why is your website, you need to send us the URL in the chat and I'll give you a definitive answer on that. There's about 35 reasons I could come up with just sitting here without even looking at it. So, all right. So let's go on to.
She's saying, David, put the link to your website in the chat and she might be able to figure it out.
All right. So let's kind of keep going on. And I don't want to get on too many rabbit trails tonight, guys. I know sometimes we do that, but I don't want to go down too many. I'm happy to take questions towards the end, but I kind of want to get through this demo so we sort of understand what we're supposed to be doing here, because this is something you all have asked for repeatedly. All right. So I come in, I log in, I have my upgrade. If I don't have a theme, I'm going to go to Appearance. And I'm going to go to Themes. And I'm going to tell it to upload a theme under Add New. Now, I am not going to do that this time because I have already uploaded my UDesign theme. All right. When you come in, it will make a child theme. You always want to make a child theme so you can do upgrades that do not alter your page. So when you don't take a child theme, it's possible that you can overwrite some of the customizations you make. So you always, when the theme asks if you want to make a child theme, tell it yes. If you just want to check and make sure you have one, you can. This is now the default one that comes with WordPress. It's terrible. Don't use it. So we come up, we have our active theme. We've got our situation is. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go and import all the demo data. And this is one of the pieces of the secret sauce. Okay. And I'm going to show you why. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to import the demo data. So you need to look all these themes. Remember, I told you to look for themes that have demo data. Not all of them are part of the theme install. A lot of them have these fetch programs that you have to go out and run the wizard that lets you import the demo data to your website. Okay, so I'm going to run the wizard. It's going to ask me some questions. It's going to say, this will set up your theme, install plugins, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to tell it start. It's going to say, I'm good to go. And it says, learn about, it's actually going to set up the child theme. We've already run this. So the child theme's already set up on this, but we're going to pretend we didn't. So that's all done. We're going to tell it next. It's going to tell me install plugins, and it's going to ask me if I want to install any of these. I am going to say no, because I don't want any of them installed. I especially don't want Elementor installed on mine. And I don't want Revolution Slider installed, and I'll explain why in a minute. WooCommerce, if you think you are ever going to want to sell something, add WooCommerce. If you don't install it. So tell it install. It's not going to do anything because I didn't install any plugins. Because I'm not going to get involved in how to set up a shopping cart tonight. That's I think a bridge too far. So I have some choices here. I have a business demo, I have a health coach, I have photography, I've got a shop, music. How I know what those look like before I go importing everything in creation is if I go back. How do I want to do my search? You design theme. All right, it's going to take me to it. And it's going to give me some previews of some items here. So I'm going to go to the preview. And I'm going to look and I'm going to see what some of these websites look like. Because you remember I told you there's demo data that comes with each of these, right? Well, here's my demo data to choose from. And it tells me what the names of them are so that I can choose which one I want to use when I import my data. So it gives me an idea of what this looks like. It gives me a theme. It lets me tell me what my options are. It kind of gives me an idea what it looks like. If I actually did this, I'd have a very nice looking website and didn't make myself too crazy. But I'm not going to use the U yoga one because that's not the one I want to use. Usually I'll tell you at the end of the day, I bring in the business one, but I can go through each and every one of these and decide which one of these looks best for me and which ones work best for me for what I'm doing. Because I need to decide which copy to bring, because you don't want to bring everything. I don't feel like you want to bring everything. So just make sure you kind of have an idea of which one. So with that all said, I am going to grab the business one. All right, and I'm going to tell it
They're
import
asking you
business.
what you're looking at when you judge colors or fonts or layout or all
For
of the above.
style, for layout, for what I want. I go with the business one on all of them because it's easy to make it into anything I want, to be quite honest with you. So you'll see it's importing all the images for me. Yeah, there's not a lot of, I can change all of that. I haven't gotten to where we're changing it yet, but I want to bring the base data in right now. So that's what it's doing for us right this minute. And it's going to take it a minute to import it all because it's a fairly large packet of information that it brings in. And you'll see it all in just here in just a second. So just sit tight. It's at 99. It's at 100%. So all our content's now imported. And now I can go and I actually could view the website. So you remember I had that other little website up that just said you design with a little blank thing on it. Now what it has is a whole website. There literally is a whole bunch of pages here. Okay. So I have lots of options now on what I can do because I bought this content in. You see how nice this all is and what it does, right? Okay. So we're good. I'm going to tell it, I'm going to check my extras and see if there's anything I need. And otherwise, I'm going to start customizing. So the next step in this is to start to customize your theme. So it depends on what theme you pick. I'm going to go down mine. Every one of them, this is another side note message for you. Every one of them has a different customization mechanism. And some of them have been very difficult. Some of them take a very long time. Some of them are not as intuitive. This one's pretty cut and dry. I mean, you don't have to have no rocket science to be able to do this. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm hoping everybody can see this now, but I'm going to go ahead and blow the screen up just a little bit so we can see a little better. And we're going to go down this and you see it's going to ask me, what is the URL of my logo? Well, I don't want to use the default logo. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. This is the default logo up here. If you can see that, you see it up there. All right. We don't want to use that logo. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my own logo. I click the button, I pick select file, and let me grab an SEO 411 logo. Computer here. If you can find one, there we go. All right. And I'm just spitballing this from this. So if they don't look right, don't go, oh, it looks black. It's only because I picked one with a transparent background. Okay, so I have gone in, I uploaded my logo file. Okay, that's as simple as picking an upload, picking the file and sticking it over here. So now here comes a little bit of fine point for you. I often go and I edit my image. Okay, I take it out just a little bit. If you notice, it's got no background on it. The reason I do that, because if your web hosting company is got the servers set for Google, they will have some type of compression on it. So I'm going to just take off one little pixel in one direction. And what it's going to do, it's going to resize that image for me. So it's made that image smaller and it's compressed it on the server. So I now have I touch every single image I upload. I touch with the WordPress editor because I know my server is going to go in and smush that photo for me. There's software programs that you can use on the website to do it. We opted to do it server side because we kind of felt like it was better for everybody if we did it as opposed to you guys trying to do it with some plugin that you have to do it. So I went ahead and did that. Save the changes I made, and I'm going to tell it back. And I'm now going to basically just insert that image into my, which this says insert, but it's because we went over anyway. Long story short. From an SEO perspective, you may choose to put your own titles on here. So I may put SEO 411. This is where you would put metadata on images. So
tell them why putting the metadata on the images is important.
well, because that's a basic SEO function. That's just letting Google know what that picture is. It's also a courtesy because if somebody doesn't happen to have images turned on in their computer, it will show that what that it's a picture of. The one thing I will say is that in the modern era, most people don't turn their images off. That goes back to when everybody was running an HP, DX 400 computer that was like $8,000. So it's not something we normally come across anymore, but Google does read that data. Don't go crazy stuffing keywords and descriptions and all in it. But anyway, all right. So I go and I put that in there and I've set my logo now. Now, the one thing, did it set it? Yes. The one thing that I'm going to mention to you, and I didn't do this myself before I walked away, is you see this is 197 by 69 pixels. I need that information because I'm going to have to specify how big I want my image to be for my logo. Okay. So we just said this was 197 by 69 because what I'm doing is I'm saying that's how big that logo is. So when you build the head of this website, when you build this, where am I? When you build this piece, you need to know that my logo is 197 by. Now, what I can do right now, without going any further, is I can hit save. And I can refresh this page. And there's the logo. So we're going to have to put up with a bad non-transparent logo. I apologize for that. But you see, I set it right. It's set to the right size. It matches what it needs so it fits in the spot. Okay. So that's the very first thing that I need to do. And actually, this is going to really bother me in my little OCD world. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to see if that one works better. It's probably the same one. Nope, perfect. Okay, the good change here is I'm going to tell it edit. I'm going to fix it up a little bit. I'm going to tell it that way and I'm going to scale it so it should clean it just a little. I'm going to tell it, right, then I'm going to tell it back. And I'm going to pick that one, which is 231 by 77. 277. I'm going to tell it okay. And you notice now what happens, the logos change, which that looks a little bit better anyway to have that. So we're not looking at something so ugly. All right, so I have now set the logo. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to start to read all of these things that I can do. And I'm going to just make decisions. Now, this one says, do I want to center the logo across the area of the page? Now, often when I don't know what, if I'm using a theme that I'm not familiar with, I turn it on, I hit save, I go look, I go, don't like that too much. Come back, turn it off, save again, and put it back to where it was.
Did you see
So
those? Did you see those two questions? Do you recommend uploading a PNG or a JPEG? A JPEG.
Well, I prefer a PNG. However, often those files are too large and they don't smash down right. So I've been using more JPEGs than I would care to, because it's all about file size these days. So I think it's a judgment call based on whatever you're looking at. That logo file was small enough that I could go over to a PNG if I wanted to, especially if it was going to be crisp. Because when I look at it, I say it's not crisp enough for me. Right now, that logo is not crisp enough for me. So, and honestly, I have to tell you, I wanted a red and black site. I decided that from the minute I started SEO 411 that I was going to go, and I love the color combination, but I have to be really careful with the red because the red bleeds. So understand when you're picking colors that sometimes when you're setting that you may set yourself up into a situation that doesn't necessarily work right. Okay. So just kind of put that in your head too. So I have to always be very careful with this logo to make sure that logo stays nice and crisp. And I'd rather have crisp in a little bigger file than what that looks like, because that's not crisp enough for me.
Okay, here's one other question. What kept it from displaying the transparency? Was the first one not transparent in the first place?
Well, the black one was transparent, but see, here's the thing. The background of this website is not set right now. I don't have any background color defined. So white is the default when something's not defined, but there was nothing in the code to say this page is white. So therefore it kept the transparency from showing. That's a great question, but that is why that happened, because, and that's why I actually went back and used one with a transparency, because I don't want a color set unless I need a color set, because that's wasted code. Again, you want to be as lean and as light as possible. And I'm not going to put color changes and code in unnecessarily. It's just let it be its default, which on my, now, if my computer default, I will tell you, this is where you could run into trouble on this. This Mac that I'm working on, and actually all Macs in the last several years have a dark mode, just like my phone has a dark mode. I actually need to account for that somewhere in my life, because theoretically by not putting a background on, the dark mode could take this over and make this be a black site. So there is some, you need to check it in a couple iterations, but that is why it was doing that, because there is no background set to that header. Okay, so that's that.
Somebody else asked one more thing about the logo. How did you know?
I see it. That's where I was just going next.
Oh,
How did you know what size to set it to? All right, so what I went to here is when I go to upload images and I click on the image I used, WordPress tells me what the dimensions are. So I took those when I was here and I set that image. I said, oh, 231 by 77. That's how big that logo file is, and went ahead and made that dimensions match what the size was in WordPress. Now, if I wanted it to be bigger, I could go into the editor, make it bigger, and then make these pieces be bigger. So I have some options. That's why I said this thing is lightweight and pretty flexible, because some people have really big logos and some people don't have logos. So that's what this all is. So
did that change that banner that was going across the top by you choosing what size your logo was going to be? Did that change that banner across?
Yeah. So look, this website, this is the hosting website, and just like kind of to show you the difference here. This is using the same theme, okay? So ACTWD is using the same thing, but you see how thick that is? We had to make the header thicker to accommodate the fact that we have a more vertical stack logo on this site, whereas SEO's is narrow, this one is fatter. And if I go in, if I go into, let me see if I can get into this thing. See, this one's taller than the one at SEO because this one is 116 in height. So I had to set it taller, which means everything I did had to be taller. So whatever your logo is, it starts to allow you to have the flexibility to match the size of your logo, because I wouldn't want your logo to be too small. I mean, I'm happier with the vertical logo. In fact, I'm in a process of probably going to change the ACTWD logo because I don't like how tall it is, to be quite honest with you. So that's the difference. But you can see I can manipulate them to match whatever the logo size is. This is just significantly taller because of this arrow design. So there's that. Okay. The other thing I need to do is I have to decide how many pixels I want down from the top. If I take this away, there would be no air on this logo. And I think that white space is extremely important when you're doing design work. I think it's an art form that gets lost, that either people use way too much white space or not enough white space. But I always try to teach, when I teach, like from a design standpoint, to make sure that you leave some air around. So I'm going to leave the default of the 6 pixels from the top set. Okay. Now, the next piece of this I have is the tagline. Do I want one? Do I not want one? And if I want one, I need to, if I set one, then it needs to be there. So you can actually set one. And let me, this website doesn't have one set on it. All right. All right, so I set it where they told me to set it. If you notice, the instructions were right on the screen of where I needed to go to set it. So it now is there, and when I hit save, it should show up. Yeah, it's there, but it's not down enough. So what that tells me is I now need to make this, so if you can see, it's very faint. So the next question should be, how do I make that? So if you think about it, I'm telling it to come down 70 pixels from the top, but the width of my logo is 77. So I'm going to tell it to come down 85 pixels from the top, hit save, and see if I guessed right. Now, some of these numbers is I'm making guesses. It's because I've been doing this for 21 years. But there's no limit on saves. There's no limit on how big what you have to do. So you see it's there. I don't know if you can see it. It's there very tiny. I am going to now change the font size on it to go to 18, because I told let's go to 16. And let's see, what do I want to do? Okay, I'll show you how to fix this next. These 2 boxes, in my opinion, are out of order, and I'll show you why in a second. So you see, I made it a little bigger. It's a little easier to read. I'm actually going to go to 18 on it. Now, the next one down is how tall that top is. And I just told it I wanted it down 85 from the top of the page. But if you notice, I made my top area only 51 pixels by default. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 85 here so that they match. And look, there's no wrong answer here. This is why you can do this. You just pick a number and plug it in. So you see, by going to 85, now you see it push the image down. The We Make Websites Work is sitting right under the logo, looks spiffy, and there you go. All right, so we have now fixed the top to where I think we should be pretty happy with how fat this bar is and how this looks and how our website looks. So everybody's with me so far, I'm assuming, right? Because the little question box, this is the quietest I've ever seen them. I'm just going to mention that. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and come through the theme. I'm going to come down more. I'm not worried about that. The world is not that specific anymore. I'm not worried about making them. I could do that, but I'm not. You can, but I'm not worried, especially for tonight and for this demo. I'm not going to start to fiddle with how to make the thing the same size as the logo. All right.
Sometimes you answer the question without reading the question, and everybody doesn't have the chat on.
Right. Okay. It says, would you not, Kernan, change the font so that the tagline matches the width of the logo? The answer is, for tonight's demo, no. And actually, I'm not so sure that I wouldn't center it a little bit more, but I'm not unhappy with what it looks like, to be honest with you. Okay. So now I have this option has, this theme has the option to make a call to action on the side. Let me see if it's here. You see it here where it says feedback. So if I chose to leave that, see, there's the button label, and I'm going to say call Beth, so we know I changed it. I'm going to fix the position of the feedback button, so that means that when I scroll, it's going to scroll with me, okay? And I'm also, it's going to set what my contact page is. Now, we're a little bit premature. When I build a website, I often do so with a notebook and a piece of paper sitting next to me. One of the first notes I would write is, remember to link up contact page in theme. So although there is a page here and it will work, I'm going to build my own contact form at some point, and I need to remember to come back and fix it if I leave that flag on the side of the website. I can look here on what I want. I can put the telephone information on here if I want as well, and I'm going to do that so it propagates right. And then here comes the first question that I need to ask myself. The theme default on the button color is this aquamarine blue. Well, we know my company's colors are red and black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to be red. And I happen to know my hex color for red. Every color you see has a hex color, an RGB color. It's got different. On a Mac, a Windows computer has it as well. And I'm going to have to open up my whole desktop for you to see what I'm doing here. So give me a second. Let me stop sharing. Let me share the whole desktop. All right. So now the whole desktop. Now you can. Did it do my whole screen? No. Share. All right. You see my whole screen now, right? I'm assuming. Can somebody confirm that for me?
Yes, we can see your whole screen. It seems pretty far away.
Okay.
Far away. It makes everything smaller though.
All right. Well, just for the moment, let me go through this real quick and then we'll go from there because I can't fix the screen size. So I'm going to go to my programs and I am going to go to utilities. Every Mac in America has this, and it's got a digital color meter. And I can go to any color I want and I can mouse over it and it will give me, if you look over here, it will tell me what my color is. Okay. So I write that number down on my red, and then I take it and go and look and make sure that I put it to I go Google a hex to RGB to hex. And you can put those numbers in here that your little color picker gave you.
What do I type in for the website for where they find that?
Google, I just put it in. Every time it comes up, I just pick the PC has one as well. It has a color picker as well. It's just, I don't know that I know where it is on a PC anymore, but there is one there.
Oh, here's one. It says for Windows.
Somebody says for Windows, there's an app called Pixie X. Good, great. Get that. because you need to get that. So I'm going to get my number here off this. Hold on a minute. I got to move it over so we can get the number.
Thanks, Yvette.
What, for moving it around?
No, she gave us the pixie dot exe.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Because I don't really know the windows from that side. So I'm going to write down 195, 32, and 60. And I'm, you know that piece of paper, that old fashioned piece of paper. Yeah, I keep it right next to me to write this stuff down on. And I'm going to go over to this website that I lost the window on. Here we go. And I am going to put in that value, which is 195, comma, 32, comma, 60. And it's going to give me what the hex is for my red, okay? Which I don't agree with that answer. I actually have a different number I use, but that's okay. That way you know what color to pick through the rest of this. So when we come here, it gave us the answer. I'm going to take that answer, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right on in here. And that goes for any color you need. So now I've set my red button base to match the color of my logo, which is really DB2A. Okay, so I'm going to save that change. We're going to go back to our demo website. We're going to refresh, and we're going to see here it is, call Beth with the little button on the side. Yeah, and the Adobe applications can. You're right, Yvette, on that. The thing is that a lot of people don't actually have the Adobe applications, which is kind of why I'm doing this poor man's way. I usually run it through Photoshop when I do it and make sure that I have the right thing. But this is just the easiest way to do it. I like your Pixie exe thing too, because most of these folks, I don't even know that they how many of them know how to use Photoshop or those applications at this point. So, but yeah, all the ones, like I can bring it in Photoshop. You can do the same thing with a color picker, get the number and bring it back. It saves you the step from having to go out to the web. So there is that as well, because it'll actually give you the hex number that needs to go in these software programs. All right, so we now know how to pick a color. We know how to do the header. We've done the banner on the side. I'm not going to worry about the pretty photo. There's some general settings here that I would test on and off. What I'm going to tell you is that I know the answer to this from an SEO standpoint, which is show the breadcrumbs. Yay, we want to do that. We want to enable schema tags, so I'm going to turn that on. We're not going to enable cropping of image, or we don't want to disable the cropping of images. We want to make sure we have a retina display to match the higher end monitors. And then I want to be able to do custom CSS if I need to. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to pick out yes, and I'm going to go over we go. So we save that, go to the next menu option. Okay. The next one talks about what happens when I start to scroll the page. Do I want it to stay on top? Now, if you watch this, watch what's going to happen. When I start to scroll, you notice it went to UDesign. It did that because on this box here, it's set as UDesign. So you actually need to change it to your uploaded image. And you probably want a smaller version, but just for this exercise, I'm going to keep this. All right, I changed that. I'm going to tell it stay on top. I want it to be a shadow. I'm going to tell it to align it to the right. I'm actually going to make this be a little bit closer. Let's see, 25. Say, let's go to 20 just for friends. It's going to have down arrows. If I want, I can have down arrows. I can have side carrots. I can have plus signs. And actually, I like plus signs. So we're going to go with plus signs. And I also can tell it to put a drop shadow on any of my submenus. So I've now set that up. And I'm trying to hit the highlight reels, not things that are specific to this. So I'm going to come back down, and then we have layout options. And this theme lets me pick SEO friendly type layout options. So I'm going to tell it I do. I'm going to tell I want the home page. I want to be a full home page without any sidebar. I can tell it to remove the sidebar from any of my default templates. So when we're what this thing is talking about is that when you get on the inside, see there's a sidebar, I can remove that. So I actually ended up removing it from the home page. So we go through, and again, the best way to do this is kind of play with this back and forth. You can set all your settings. I'm going to make my page width wider. I usually kind of go out to 1400 with that. If I can get out to it, will be good because it's going to make it wider. If I have a sidebar, I'm going to knock that back to 30. And I'm going to say the content width is going to be 900 on this thing. And that's going to be my guesstimate of what I think it should be.
And do you like to do fitting more on the page than your average person? Because a lot of people hardly put anything on each page in a website.
Say what?
So when you're making the website page wider, is it because you want more content on the page than some of these people that are doing these more simple ones?
No, it's because I want a bigger palette.
Okay.
I want a bigger palette. See how this is kind of smushed a little bit? I'd like to have the option to go as wide as I want. So let me see if I save this, if it does it.
Yes, it's recorded. So you can listen to it again while you're working on
Yeah,
your own website.
if you're not bored enough this time, you can go listen to it. I don't think anybody's on board. I think you all are just paying really careful attention, honestly. Well, and see, I'm trying to fix that. I don't know how to fix that. It's up on the, it'll be up on my site and it'll also be up on Score's site, usually tomorrow, the next day. John usually gets me the link for it pretty quickly, so I'm sure we'll have it up in the next day or two. I don't need to prep this one out like I normally do. We're just going to put it up there as a straight up demo for everybody. All right, so I'm going to go with my wider page. If you notice, I just made the page a little wider because it feels a little better. And you see how everything got a little closer, Sandra, because I made it a little wider?
Yes.
All right, so that's kind of why I made the page wider, because I get claustrophobic with these pages when they're not big enough. Okay. All right, so I'm going to come back to where I was here. We're going to keep, now these are the important ones, I think. Okay. First of all, you have a choice to make. And the first choice you have to make is to enable Google Fonts or not enable Google Fonts. And it's an interesting problem because from a speed standpoint, when you enable Google Fonts, it makes your website slower to load because it has to make the call to the Google API and get the font. By turning it off and not using a Google font, the fonts are no longer heavy enough based on their algorithm update. So it's kind of a strange problem because it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't one. So I turn it on. I'm pretty predictable with this. Remember, I told you the story that Google's penalizing. So I'm using big, large, bold fonts and big, large line weights. And what that is this is the text for the website. I don't ever use Times New Roman anymore. So if we can not use Times New Roman, that would be just like awesome in this world. Now, if you look, see how teensy tiny pointy that print is? That's too tiny for the world we live in now because Google changed it. So I'm going to go to at least 400 normal, and I'm going to bump this to a 16. I'm going to tell it save if I can find my save button. There we go. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to refresh. And you see how it got a little heavier and a little bigger. And that's still too small for my taste from a Google standpoint. So I'm going to even go bigger yet. Hold on a second. Yep. Sorry about that. Dachshund crossing. Okay. So I'm going to even go bigger than that because I think that's still too small. This way and see if this fixes it. I changed it back to be just my monitor window, and let's see if we can't make this a little bit better.
So the fonts are normally embedded in the theme, right? But you can still go change them once they're there.
Yeah, they're embedded in the theme, and you don't want a theme that you can't embed them. That's one of the pieces that I'm trying to make sure everybody gets is that, I'm going to almost go, maybe I'm going to go to a 15 and an 18 because like I'm saying to you, Google wants big. They think this is a end user durability thing. So
So
I'm not
Crystal's
going to
asking,
argue with, huh?
Crystal's asking, what does it look like on mobile, especially when you're picking these fonts and all that?
That's why we're doing these as variants so that they size out right. And honestly, you can just go look at this on your phone right now. It's a live website that I'm putting together. So you can go right and look at it. Now, I went and did that. I'm not happy with that gray, huh?
What's the link? What's the link to this website?
hccdemo.seo411.com.
Say it again.
But hccdemo.seo411.com. But you know, guys, I don't want to go get off on some rabbit trail because we've got a lot to cover here and I've only got an hour. Mobile, you can check it on your mobile phone. I don't think it's going to be right up front, but we'll see. Okay. I need to make the changes I need for desktop for the moment just to get us going in the right direction. I don't like this color. Let me see. What do I want to do here with this? I'm going to stay here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of this. All right. The other thing that this theme lets you do is change the sizes on the H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So you can opt to do that as well, or you can just leave the headings running with this whole same system here. All right. So I'm going to leave it alone for tonight for right now. I tinker with that, admittedly. So the next thing I've got to do is I've got to change the body color because it not being black is going to make me nutso. No, yes and no. I mean, you're basically setting the CSS as you're going. These are all the CSS it's going to do. So as I'm changing this in the theme, it's going to change it for everybody. So it's going to change it for all pages. So you see, I just made the text black. I just made it the body color, and I'm going to change the link colors to red. So it's going to be DB002A. So I just changed the link colors for that, hover colors, top area. So remember we talked about whether there's a background, we can actually set one if we want. And this is your whole color system for the entire website is sitting in these boxes. So this is where you're setting up your global colors. Yeah, so they're all global colors, exactly right. All right, so this is where they're all set from top to bottom and then some. So when I tell you I use this theme across almost every single website, but no website we have looks the same, it's because I can manipulate almost every aspect of this website with this theme. That's why I am so sold on this thing, because it's that easy to use, and you literally on a Saturday can make a reasonable looking website. So you see, I changed the weight of the font. I changed it to black. These are still standard. The links should now be red. I thought I changed the links to red, but maybe I didn't. But you see how I've changed all the text now as a dark black and much easier and more striking to read. I think everybody might agree with that part of it. Now, because I did that and it's black, maybe I think it's too heavy and I'm going to drop this back. And I'm actually going to drop this back to 400 normal. So it's not, the line weight is not so heavy. All right, but just know I'm making a change. I'm seeing what it's doing. If you have a second monitor, you can make a change, see what you're doing, and go look at your second monitor. All right, yeah, I think I'm happy. I think I'm happier with that line weight on that, the way that is. Okay, so I've now set my theme, my color, everything I have is all set. Let me see if I've missed anything that's of importance. If I wanted a background image on the top, I could set that. This window not being the right size is making me nuts. If I do that, let's see, where did it go? I think I hit save. Make sure I hit save. Yeah. Okay, so you see I now have a background running in there. So I can do anything I want with this. I can tell it to repeat the background, repeat only horizontally, save. I still have to say horizontal horizon in my head every time I look at horizontal and vertical. Just it's like the same thing I do with lefts and rights. So see, now it's got a, not that we're leaving it that way because it looks terrible. Don't misunderstand. Okay, but that would be an example of putting something in there. And let's get rid of this. Let's get that out of here. Let's save this so it's not there and annoying us. Okay, so I can set and control each and every element of the website, and that's the beauty of this. There is a blog section, and you can choose whether you want your sidebar on the right, whether you want it on the left, how many characters you want in an excerpt. If you want an excerpt, do you want it to say read more, learn more? What do you want it to do? These are all the things that you can control. And this is why this makes it easy, because literally you just kind of go and pick what you want. You don't have to be, nothing I've showed you yet requires you to know one lick of computer programming, to be honest with you. Even picking colors, you can just go, hey, look, it's a color wheel. Let me pick what I want. I mean, so you don't even, I'll answer that in a second. You don't even have to worry about needing to know. We have not hit anything yet that you need to know a word about anything. Now, this says, what about video backgrounds? And yes, you can put video backgrounds in. I am going to strongly urge you not to. And the reason why is because the penalty for slow loading websites are too egregious. I'm even having to write custom code now on YouTube videos to load them after the fact. I am going to try to see if I can take the YouTube trick and do it on a header video. But I've been telling you for a while, I was considering taking the movie off the front of SEO 411, and I don't think it looks as good, but I took the movie off the front of SEO 411 and I put the skyline of Houston. So, you know, it is what it is. So I took it off because I felt like we needed the improvement, and I felt like that we were losing too much search engine credit by having that movie up there, that it finally got to the point that it made enough difference. So although it looks cool, I'm going to kind of recommend not to do that anymore. Okay. You know, John, I'm going to answer that question publicly. John just asked me, where do I go to keep up with Google changes? And Google puts out some guidelines, and they have a webmaster blog. And when they go and put page speed in my webmaster tools, it's very apparent to me that I need to start paying attention to speed and what I'm doing. And they've now gone as far as to tell you what blocks of your website are not loading to their standards in Webmaster Tools. Now, Webmaster Tools and speed sites becomes a whole class on itself. But the thing is, if I sat down and I had to think about, if I had to learn what I know today, I don't know how I would do it, to be quite honest with you, because it has been a real piling on effect of, I understand that they wanted 300 words on a page, and I understand that I could keyword stuff. And then I understood that websites that were keyword stuff got tanked. And then you had to go back and start to look at why did they tank the website. So then you had to start to play around with it. So there's a lot of touch and feel with it. There's a lot of opinions, but I issue my own opinion papers just as much as everybody else out there. I don't necessarily, um, I don't necessarily feel like there's one source. And what else I tell somebody, and I'm going to tell all you guys this, it's partly why I do this clinic. If I wrote a book, by the time that book went out, went to press and got published, every piece of the information in that book would be no good. And this is like a real-time discussion about what's out there today. Tomorrow, the whole thing can change. And then by next week, I come and I tell you something different. So it's not, it's just that understanding. When the kids were first started here, my kids that work here, they would come and say, hey, I read this on the internet. And I'd say to them, check the date. Oh, this is from 3 years ago. Okay, go back to your desk and go back to work, because it's something from 3 years ago may more than likely not be relative today. So you have to always, I had a customer do it to me just this week. They said, I went and looked up H tags and you told me we need to put this many. And the thing I was reading said, don't put any more than 4 headings in your page. And I said, okay. What's the date on the article? 2016. Well, in 2016, it was a little bit more formulaic than it is now. It's not formulaic anymore. So, these are all those things that, I just want you all to understand that you got to look at the date and put it in a proper context, and you can't pick out something and read it and then go home and implement it, because if it's not current, it's not up to date. If it's old, there's a good chance that there's a problem with what it needs to have. So just kind of tuck that away on that. But I don't know that I think there's a definitive source, and I think I could sit and I could read and read and read and read everybody's opinion, and I go, that one doesn't know what they're talking about. Oh, that one actually has a good point. That one doesn't know what they're talking about. We don't agree with doing it that way. So it becomes a learning and a way to evaluate the information that's being given to me as to when I put it through my own filter and my own knowledge base. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So this says, can we do video on other pages, but just not on the first page? No, because each page is graded. So let me show you what I had to do. And I think it's running on this page. I have a script that I had to make work on this website because the page speed on it got horked on this page. Hold on, I gotta find it. Let's see, maybe it's here. Nope, not that one. It's coming. I'll get there eventually. Nope. Man, I'm hitting everyone in the butt. Watch this. See that? What the hell is it? By the time it's over, I will have hit every website page on this website. I'm just letting you know. Almost there. We're almost done with all these pages. Look, there's one here that has a YouTube video on it. Here it is. Okay. So if you notice when that jogged in there for a second, it blinked. And I'll tell you why. Let me see if it'll do it to do it again. So what I did is I told it load a blank image. And then when you put your mouse over it, then load the YouTube video. And the reason I did that is because that video is even slowing it down. So I'm going to see if I can take that script and apply it to a video. So I may get back to you more with videos on different pages, but this page went from being in the 30s all the way up to the 80s just by putting this little trick on the YouTube video. So that's why I'm not really too key on, we're having to walk away. The penalty is starting to get way too much for videos in headers of websites. I hate to say it, but that's just kind of where it is. Yeah, I know. But the trick works to put the thumbnail in over the top of it and then load the video behind it. And then on click or on mouse over, then the video loads. I mean, there is ways around it, but how much does it mean to you? To my mind, by the time I'm done writing the coding to do it, I don't like the video enough anymore to do it. So it's kind of why I'm like, just if you're starting to see it, you'll start to see there's no videos like that anymore. There's embedded YouTube, but they're not loading in headers of websites. And I still have them in headers of websites, but I took it, it shows you my opinion when I really love that video on our website and I took it, took it down. This question says, is the work from home a real company? Yes, it is a real company. They are a real, very large company. So if you need a job and you want to work from home, you can go ahead and call Tracy. I'm sure she'll appreciate the phone call because she's looking for people. So that's a good thing. Sliders are okay, but I would say no to video. I'm going to say right now, no to video. I'm just going to say that YouTube videos are fine, but they're not embedded in heads of the website. I do think you need to consider, if you're going to run YouTube videos, you got to put the JavaScript in to load it right so that it's loading this way and it's not affecting your page speed, because I guarantee you Google's loading it. But listen, guys, I don't want it. We're going to get off on a whole thing on page speed, and then we're not even going to get to how to edit a page. So the short answer, I'm starting to get to, my short answer on video, just don't do it. I mean, that's probably the best answer for today. If we want to have a different discussion, we can do that later. Okay, what's the penalty? The penalty for loading a video is there is no penalty for loading it later. That's why we did it that way. All right, so let's kind of get away from video in the headers. I don't okay, so all right, so we've got our page, sent. We've got everything done. We're ready to start to get into this a little bit more now. So how do I keep my header and my profile picture from being superimposed over my featured image? Well, that's because your setting and your themes are wrong. There's a problem with when they lay over each other, there's a problem with the CSS. How you fix that depends on what the flexibility is with your theme. If I had this theme, I would just say you had to make your header taller so it moves up and it keeps it from superimposing it over your text. But it's a theme specific problem, if you will. Okay, so now, so we've gotten to where we have, I feel like we're in a good spot and we have customized this theme. So you remember I had you go in and load in all the sample data and the sample information, right? Because what it did is it built all the pages of your website for you. So now all we have to do is this. You're going to love this. We're going to go to Business Home and we're going to tell it edit. And this is why it was so important to pick those headers right, or the ones with the right themes that you liked, because what we're going to do is the guts and the layout of the page is built for you now. Okay. So now all I have to do is I have to look at each one of these and I have to customize it. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this first block and I'm going to see what options I have on this that I can choose to go edit. So the first thing I see here is there's an image in this page. Okay, and I may or may not want this image. So I'm going to say, I don't know that I want this image. So I'm going to take this image out. I'm going to look and I'm going to see that it has a background image. And I'm going to set my own background image because I don't like their background image. I want to be I want to pick the image of the website that I want. So I'm going to go look and I'm going to, yes, you can see it again. It's going to have a video. We're going to have the video up for you. All right. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come to, where are they on this computer? Let's see. Down here, I'm going to go to documents, go to ACTWP. Sorry, I have to find the thing on my silly computer here. It's like all out of weirdo wacko. All right, hang on. Let's change the name. I'm forgetting where all my web files are. I actually have us. There they are. All right, so there. All right, I'm just going to pick anything now. Now we're going to go to the anything part of our program because I can't really find what I want. All right, we're just going to use this because just for grins because it's here. I'm going to set my image to that. And I'm going to pick whether I want it centered, whether I don't want it centered, whether I wanted a fixed background. I'm going to save it. It's going to save it out for me and it's going to be there. I then can decide I can take this content block again. It's going to load it in for me again. I'm going to have this here. So I'm going to say WordPress is easy. Even when you know. And I'm going to put that there. Okay, and that's my header box, right? But what I noticed is my background has disappeared. So I'm going to have to go back to the background options. I'm going to say that's the wrong size. And I'm going to tell it to upload a different file. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the file that it uploaded and see that it wants 1890 by 900, right? So that's a pretty big background. So this one person says, can I keep my existing website live while I'm creating a new website through the same account? I'm going to say yes, you can. Most places will let you do a subdomain. We do a beta version of websites all day long. We just take them out, swap them up, put the beta up. In fact, I just had to do an emergency repair on the ACTWD site. We just took it out, threw it on a beta, had one of the girls go through, make the changes, and then just moved it right back into its regular place. So no, that's something you can do on a regular basis. So I would never say to do this on a live website, what I'm doing now, setting up a theme, changing your theme, doing any of those things. I would never do it on a live website. And the other thing is, if you're using Elementor, don't switch to WP Bakery. If you're using WP Bakery, don't switch to Elementor. These things are, you cannot start using multiple builders. You can, it gets tricky. You can use multiple builders if you're going to build one page in Elementor, one page in WP Bakery, one page in Divi Builder. But the problem comes in from sometimes people forget and then they break the page because they try to open a WP Bakery page in Divi. So it becomes a problem. So it says, how can we do all this before it becomes visible to the public? Just like I'm doing now. This is a beta site. Even so I called it HCC demo. I could have called it beta.seo 411. And I can put it under any subdomain I want of my main domain and just work on it. Ultimately, you should password protect it, but I don't get all crazy with that. I just tell Google, don't look at this site till I'm ready, and then I push it live and take the restrictor off. So I think you do this exactly what I'm doing here. You start doing all this. So I'm gonna go. I wish I knew where my freaking photos went to. Make it there on my desktop, on my laptop. Well, let's see. So I can drag and drop from my camera roll here. So let's see if I can go to places. We can go to Houston. I can go and pick, let's pick this thing here, Sugarland. Pick the Sugarland Courthouse. It's going to throw the Sugarland Courthouse up here for me. And that's good that I actually did this because I'm going to have to see how big this file is. It's a megabyte file. So we are going to edit this image and make it be usable for this website. So remember I said it had to be 900, it needed to be 900 pixels tall. Watch this, what we're going to do. First of all, I'm going to crop this picture. I'm going to crop it this way, and we're going to leave the bottom. And we're going to crop out most of the top because I think that makes a prettier background. Let's do that. Let's crop. And then what we're going to say is that we want this to be no more than 900. We're going to tell it to, actually, I didn't cancel. We want to save. I thought I saved it, but it's acting not like I did. So we're going to come here. We now have our background picture. We're going to edit it again. Edit image. And we're going to, okay, it's 736 tall. So we're good. I want this to go to 1920 because that's a standard header width that everybody seems to be using these days. So I'm going to take that out to 1920, which if I saved it, we would be much better. Sometimes my fingers go faster than my brain. Scale. Tell update. All right, so now I have my image. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to pick set image. It's already selected. I'm going to tell it set image. I'm going to tell it center, no repeat, and I'm going to tell it auto sizing, and I'm going to tell it I want the background color to be black, and then I'm going to turn on a parallax scroll. So as my page moves, that background moves with it because it'll be kind of a nice little effect, I think. So let's see what that looks like. So I changed my text, I changed the image, I've changed everything that they have laid out for me. I've made a bunch of changes too. I come back to my main page and go back to the home page. And there's my, so there you go. You see, we've got, now we're off, right? So you see, because I screwed around with this, I need to put a spacer in there to push this down. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to tell it plus. I'm going to tell it to add an empty space. I'm going to move the empty space to the top. Save again. That's why this takes so long to do, in the sense that now I messed with it more than what I should have, to be honest with you. I shouldn't have messed with it as much as I did. And it still wants me to push it down more. So where's that create coming from? Let's do this. And you see, it did have some content padding in it, and it has it set to 0. So I'm probably, but if you just kind of stay with what's there, it will stay with what's there. So I've kind of altered that. I'll fix that a little bit. I don't want to waste time with moving stuff down and all this other crazy, because we'll end up spending more time on how to fix that than we will, whatever. Okay, so I might now say Houston SEO expert. And you see, I've picked my, we talk a lot about H2 tags, H3 tags. I've made this an H2 tag. And I also have the choice to make this even bigger than what it is. I'm going to knock it to 24. I can pick a picture over here. So now what it has is it has a picture of something that I don't know what it has a picture of. So I'm going to go to file uploads. I'm just going to keep pulling stuff off my camera rolls because it seems to make the most amount of sense to do it that that way for some reason. This is back when we had a football team. We don't have one of them anymore. I don't know what we have now, but it's not a football team. But we're going to go ahead and use this because I can't help but complain about them. So it's uploading that for me now. So this is going to be our sidebar that I'm going to add. You know, we just did this whole exercise that I told you to resize it. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to come over here. Every picture I upload, I resize. I'm going to go to 800 on that one, 900, whatever. Update. I'm going to set my image. Go here. Now, see what we got. We got my little gridiron Texas picture. We've got my SEO experts. What I want you to walk away from here with is that what I'm doing is taking the work that they did and making it my own. Okay. And they fully expect you to do that. So when you do this, you have the option that you too can be a web designer, because it's as easy as opening these boxes, opening the box that's there. Although this one's really bothering me. I must admit why it's not lining up right. I don't know why it's like showing something that's there that it's not though. It's so weird. And I don't use these content blocks often. I use Smart Slider. That's one of those things that we package with our bundles just because it works better. I think it's easier for a beginner to use. Okay, let's see. We've got maybe a new question coming in here. Yes, but we did beat the Cowboys. Yeah, I know, but it was yes, yeah, I can't do it. I just can't. I'm the person riding around with awesome on their license plate about the Texans, and everybody keeps saying, "Are you going to get rid of your license plate?" I say, no, I'm going to dream that someday they're going to be awesome again. But until then, anyway, so that's my whole Texans story. But all right, so we're going to come over here and we're going to go to the next box and we're going to decide what we want. Okay. And if you notice, why didn't this load this in? Do these have these two lines? There's two boxes. Okay, so they did this as two text boxes on this, and I'm not really sure why, but we're going to keep it that way. I'm going to bump the header on this because I would like it bigger. And I'm going to say web design. I am a loyal fan. I just think you should put out a good product. That's all. Web design experts. Let's do it that way. But I can take razzing on that subject. All right. All right. So I then can choose, okay, so I can say SEO. SEO, if I could type my own company's name, would be okay. Has been providing high impact web design for 2 years. Later in Houston, but I am a very bad typist and have a full-time editor to correct mistakes. You should read. Should have. Okay, so I changed my text block. And this is another section. So let's go see what that is. Let's update our page and let's go see how we're doing here on our page. All right, so you see, see how this is starting to take some shape to it, and it's starting to become more ours and less what they did. So this is what this is the way I do it. So I would take the home page and I pull the home page apart and use it the way I want it to be used. It adds a little bit of flair because the animation is in on these text boxes. You just literally have to go back to your edit screen, find those bullet points, and watch how easy this is. It's fun to work with. It's interesting. Spells bad. That's not part. After we did all that to get the suppression in for him, he hasn't said a word. I just want to point that out. Anyway, my dog barks at every one of these internet clinics, and this time around he hasn't said boo. Anyway, so I go here, I update, and boom, there's those bullet points I just put in. So what I'm saying to you and what I'd like you to walk away from is when you pick a theme and you get the content, it literally starts to become a find and replace and a hunt and peck and replace the information here. And when you do, you have a website that looks just as good as if I did it and you guys did it yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. I deal with a lot of people, and a lot of people, what I'm doing here, they do, and then they go charge somebody $2,000 like they're a genius for doing it. And I'm going to strongly urge you to understand what I'm doing. So if you do hire somebody and they sit down, that you start to understand what they're doing and whether they bought a theme. I've seen people buy a theme and then leave all the theme content. And you really can't do that. If you start to look at the features that come with this, it'll give you all the options that you have, how to set the layout and the content blocks. It starts to give you a lot of examples. It has built a contact page for you so that you just have to go and fill your information in on the contact page. You change your map, you change your name, you change your address, you change all the pieces that you need to change. You can pick whether you want your page to move this way and how you want it to look and what it does. I mean, I think these pages look fantastic. And if you start to kind of do some of the same things that you've done, this starts to become a very easy way to build a website and move this back and do all this. There is usually an about us, a contact page, some base pages. The other thing, there is a plugin called Duplicate This, which I think I standardly have that on this myself. No, I don't. I need to add it. There's a plugin that's called Duplicate This. And when you put duplicate on this, you can literally duplicate these pages so that once you build the one page, if you want to continue to use that template, you can duplicate the template and repopulate the page. Duplicate the template, repopulate the page. Instead of actually overwriting the page like I did, you can, so if you come up with a good internal page, let's say where a good internal page is on this thing. Pages we have here, we have another set. Yeah, it's called Duplicate This. That's exactly, it's called Duplicate This. And you would do that through the plugin menu. But you could go to the About Us page. Okay, so you have a choice of a vertical About Us page or a horizontal. So I could view, let's say I want to view this one, and I decide this is the page I want to use, right? So it's got the picture of our staff, our people. It goes to an internal page. These are all, it's not, the link's not working. I can edit any of these pages that are part of the theme. So we can go, the other thing is in these editors, they work like standard editors, like the editor you see works just like Word. So this is not an unfamiliar set of circumstances for you. So there is that piece of it. Somebody said, are we going to get my information? My information is here. It's Beth at SEO. Did I spell that right? That's at SEO411.com. That's how you can find me. I'm pretty findable. You just have to Google me and I come up with my picture. You'll know it's me. So this question says, what if I want clients to create accounts on my site? How do I create a portal for clients to log in so they can work in it? Export content. I don't understand what you're asking me. You want clients to create, how do I create a portal for clients to log in so they can work on it? So you want to know, how do you make one of these websites so a client can work on and do it themselves and without you?
No, so they can go into the page and download things and contribute stuff. I believe.
What Sandra said? See, I would never let a customer start running through the middle of the website. So I don't know what, I need some more information here. Can these people talk? They can't talk, can they?
You know, hold on a second. I think I can, that's Dr. Pat Lindsay. Let me see if I can do that.
Because this question is an interesting question, but I don't know what the end result is. Well,
Hey, Dr. Pat, I'm going to allow you to talk. Can you talk?
can you explain this to me, please?
Hi, hello, good evening. Thank you. Yes, it's similar to what Yvette's saying. So I'd like to have clients log in, to my site as part of their added benefit, for my services, and I want them to work inside of this portal, and so I'm not quite sure. Is there like an application or a plug, or is this something that needs to be built out somewhere else and then included on my website, or can I create this in WordPress?
All right, so yeah, you probably can, but who are these clients? What are they? Are they like, what are they? Do you want them to build t-shirts? I'm, like, so if I wanted to build Design Inc. or whatever the heck that is, I can go put my name on a t-shirt and build a t-shirt. What are these clients and what are you wanting them to do?
It's mostly writing. I want them to write in the actual website, where I have preset questions in there already, and it saves within the portal, and that I can view it on the back end as well. And they could import or export that information anytime, like into, let's say, a PDF.
Yeah, there's a PDF exporter, and then you just have to make them an editor. There's an editor function, and they can just open a post up and start typing if that's what you want them to do. Now, as far as answering questions, that sounds like more like a form.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a Wufoo form, because when you set up a Wufoo form,
a gravity form that you ask them the questions and put a box and they can answer it. And if you want it private, you just have to mark it private so that nobody but them can get to it.
Great, and they can save it in their account or every time they log in with me?
Well, when they log in, it will allow you to see the pages that you just wrote, I think.
Right, okay.
I will have to look around for some plugins for that, but overall, basically what you want is blog contributors, I think, that can fill out information or answer information and put that up, and then you want them to be able to go in and just grab it and have it be unique to them.
Yes, unique to them at any point in time, export it so we could archive it and or publish it. Not necessarily digitally, but publish as in printing.
You got to look around for like some plugins for that. There's got to be, collaboration plugins out there.
Okay, thank you very much.
I understand what you're trying to do. Now that I understand what you're trying to get so people can do their own stuff and then put it and then come back and grab it themselves. But the where this hits a little bit of an iceberg is that each one of these people would have access to all the answers. Now, there's also WordPress multi-site that you might want to look at and make them all have their own little microsites that when they log in, they're only logging into their own website. You could do that. I mean, this is a off the cuff spitballing kind of a thing. That I have like a gazillion other questions because there's security problems. It's what are these questions? I mean, if it's like a psych eval, then they all need to be on their own. And then there's a different risk. If it's just I'm a writer and I want writers to come in and write and have their own
Yes.
writer portals, I mean, that's a whole, why are you asking them questions? Just out of curiosity.
So it's a part of documenting their life story, which is kind of the premise of my services. So it is mostly.
I use WordPress multi-site. I would use WordPress multi-site, let them log in. You can have individual permissions for each and every one of those people. So you have one website and then multi-site lets you spin up children's sites, and each one of them you can assign a username and password to that. And then you could make the whole site private. You could make the site public. You could, however you wanted to do it. So the documents and the pages that you put up for them only can be seen by them.
That's great, because Yvette had mentioned
WordPress multi-site is what you want to use.
WordPress. Yvette had mentioned membership, and it is very much like a membership kind of.
Well, I understand that part of it, but there's a security part of this. So membership could be how you would pay for it on the top level, but maybe not how you execute it. I really think because of the permission problems with this thing and the exclusivity that each one of them is their own isolated account, I think these need to be their own little, I mean, actually you could put a subscription module in each one of them. You
Well, I
could
think
run
that
WordPress multi-site and put their sign up and their subscription right in that multi-site and do it that way. But you would need like WooCommerce subscriptions to do that.
Okay.
This is way too complicated for 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night.
Thank you very much.
This is a big job you're asking about. So, but it's all doable. So, all right, who's the next one? Who wants to build the biggest website ever? Because that's what I had somebody ask me that today. They were like, I want to use WordPress to build full scripts. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and figure that one out. So it's
did
interesting.
Did you see the other question? How do you integrate KYC application into your web portal?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know either.
KYC is Kentucky something or other. I don't know. What is that?
Isaac, you want to type what that is?
You want to build a
Know your customer. Know your customer
application. Well, that becomes what you want to do. Like that Telereach site has a whole conditional set of forms that ask questions for a job application. So you can use gravity forms and conditional forms to do what you want to do, I think. Because if that's what, I guess it's a question. If this, then this. If that, then that. If this happens, then that happens. I'm thinking is where you're going, but this says, what's the thoughts on Divi theme builder, page builder? Okay, so I'm okay with Divi. I think Divi can be difficult at times. It does have a little bit cleaner of a code, but I think it's not as intuitive. And every time I use it, it makes me be slower. And I don't have time in my life to be slower. The difference between WP Bakery and Elementor, I'm going to say that Elementor is coming on strong, but it dumps so much crap code in a page. They have got to get that piece fixed. WP Bakery puts code, but they don't put, and their code isn't Elementor. Like if you ever look like at a page that was built with Elementor, everything says Elementor. I've never seen anything like it. So the word Elementor is on the page 553 gazillion times because they name every element Elementor. Whereas WP Bakery has nice, it just says BC, and it looks like a normal tag, where Elementor is just it's so dense. I don't even know how to say it. So it's got a lot more support. I think some people find it to be easier to use. I don't think it does as well on page speed at this time. Doesn't mean that it's not fixed. So, all right, what plugins are you using to secure WP login? Oh, I'm using iTheme Security, and I'm very happy with that. It lets you. They've streamlined it. It's a great little program. Again, so most of the stuff I have enterprise licenses on, and we just give it with it all our builds. So
Is it I, like just the letter I
iTheme
think?
Security, yeah.
Okay.
iTheme Security. It's over there on the left-hand side somewhere. All right, that's not the right question. SEM Rush versus Yoast is not the right question. Yes, you can use WordFence. I use iTheme Security because they have it's a much better program, and they've got a much better enterprise level, so that I can put it on all our websites. WordFence does not. WordFence is expensive. All right, so the person that says SEM Rush versus Yoast, that's like saying apples and shoes. Those are not the same things. But what the right question is actually is Rank Math versus Yoast. Okay, SEM Rush is a tool to figure this out, but it doesn't plug into the website right. So what you're really asking me is Rank Math, and we're Rank Math shop now. I've moved everybody. I haven't. Let me say that a different way. The people that are ranking very high on high-end terms with Yoast, I've left them alone. The people that are having a lot of terms but mid-range and they're not as competitive, I've gone ahead and gutted them out, and all the new sites are being built in Rank Math. Rank Math is just superior on so many levels, I can't even begin to say. So, yeah, to me, Yoast is better step up its game, fix its price point, fix its stuff, and there you go. How do you install UDesign? You go buy it. Rank Math's a plugin. You go buy it if your host does not provide it. Rank Math, like rank RANK, math MATH, like mathematics. Once you have it, if it's not part of your theme and you have to go buy it, you go buy it from Theme Forest, and you just use the appearance add theme and then add new button, and off you go. It's that easy. So that's not in fact, frankly, with this video, I actually kind of did that at the beginning, so you can replay that part. It kind of talks about how to do that. That's a wrap for this week's Internet Marketing Clinic. We'll see you next week. Thank you.